Good afternoon, beautiful people. Happy, fantastic Friday. I hope today has brought you nothing but reasons to smile, and you know how it goes. By the time you leave here today, you will have either laughed at me or with me, and I'm okay with both. Today is a little bit different. It is going to be a little bit of a serious topic, so I will tell you right now that this program today may not be for everybody. I know that you have seen the little advertisements that have been out there. We will talk real life stuff about molestation, betrayal, pain, frustration, and healing. I hope that those of you who are joining us sit down with an open mind. And there might be some of you tonight who have been needing this message. Maybe there's been something inside of you for a long time. Maybe some of you are still battling with old demons, so to speak, or old pains. But we will be telling true stories tonight. I have with me Mr. Leon Walker, 32-year U.S. Navy veteran, published author, mentor, and public speaker. Together, we're going to be bringing you a message that will hopefully leave you with some love, some hope, and some courage. We're doing this for more than one reason, not just to tell his story, but to be a part of a change, to raise awareness. And before we get started, before I bring Leon on, I want to give you some real life statistics. Now, I'll be honest, I can't say that I'm a statistic junkie because I don't believe all numbers that I see. And as Leon and I had discussed before the show, 80% of things go unreported when it comes to sexual abuse. So the numbers that I give you are from the National Human Services statistics. So they come from a source that's open to all and supposed to be the truth. So here's what I give you. 1 in 5 girls have been victim of sexual abuse. 1 in 20 boys. Now, here was one of the most disheartening parts about the statistics that I read. I could go on for days about things that I read, but this one is one I want you to pay attention to because you will see it come up in the story more than once. As far as the number of the percentage of abusers, 34% are family members. 59% of abusers are acquaintances, and 7% are strangers. I'm sure you see what I'm trying to tell you, right? Yes. We'll be sharing personal stories together, but primarily we'll be talking about his book, Broken, and about his life as much as we can in an hour. And we'll be talking about his experiences. So again, this message probably isn't intended for all. And I hope somebody gets some healing from this or some courage from this to go get some help or some healing because you are worth it. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Mr. Leon Walker. 1 second. Hi, Leon.
Amy, how you doing?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
Good.
All right. Anything you want to tell the audience before we go deep diving?
Yeah, I don't trigger people on purpose. This is my life. This is what happened to me. I'd rather you hear my triggers now and then be able to deal with yours later on by listening to what I'm doing, what I've done, what I've gone through, how I've overcome my painful past and my triggers. So no disrespect to anybody in what we talk about. No disrespect to my parents. I had great parents, loving parents, strong parents. They did the best they could with me. But things that happen to me is happening to people in your life right now, or it may happen later on. So, yeah, I had demons. I had a lot of stuff going on, but I'm okay now. Just so y'all know, I'm okay now. I'm good. I went through therapy. I had counseling, so I'm straight.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that. I do want to say that this is a book of his past, okay? But we will be cracking these things back open. So for all those listening, again, I hope that you find hope or healing in this. And here we go on to this broken journey. All right. First, I want to talk about this dedication page because it's important to me that I read this. It says, this book is dedicated to my parents, Leon Robert Walker Sr. and Sylvia E. Gaither. Is that correct? Gaither? Although I never told you, I really appreciate the hard times. They had an everlasting effect on me. Because of the unplanned setbacks, struggles, and lonely nights, and how you managed them, I have grown into a grateful man. That was beautiful.
Made me very, very grateful. That's why I can be a minimalist and understand it. And I'm cool with this, not having a lot of things. I don't need big car, big house. I'm grateful.
Right. So then I'm going to take it to the beginning of the book, and it opens with this. Before the book gets started, it says, "For those children who are struggling with life each and every day, I was you. For those of you who are being broken, damaged, abused, left alone, and given away, I was you. Here I stand before you to tell you my story. I'm going to discuss a way of life that most people know nothing about. But all of you who have been through it or are going through it now will understand." I think this is important because there's going to be things that are said today that people aren't going to understand. You're not going to be able to, if you haven't been in some of these situations I'll discuss today, you will almost feel as if you are watching a horror film or if you're watching just a sad story. But I want to tell you, Leon, Amy, and other people I know have been through things that some people will never have to endure, thank God. But I will tell you that we are here to be the messengers of hope. And that's why we share these things today, not to discourage, not to scare, but to open up the awareness. So I really appreciate that dedication.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get to it. You know how I do. I'm going to take you first to page 11, and we'll talk about that.
Okay.
You talk about your mom and your grandmother. So the first, I would say, piece of violence that I noticed right away in your book that you had to endure was, watching how your grandmother was verbally abused and then she verbally abused. You were talking about your grandmother was verbally abused in her household by her husband and her son.
Yeah.
So this was a handed down thing. So then did your mother endure abuse as well?
Yeah. Yeah. She
Okay.
did by other men. Her mother. Yeah.
You mentioned something that caught me on page 11. You said, "I guess she lost herself being in love with my grandfather and having children as many women do." Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. My grandmother was a janitor in a junior high school and high school all her life. I didn't find out till later that my mother and my grandmother had a very toxic relationship. They used to actually fist fight. And so my grandfather I was terrified of my grandfather. There was times where I didn't like him. It's like every time we go over there, he was like mean. He smoked cigarettes. He worked at a factory, and he used to always like I'd be in the kitchen and my grandmother being there cooking pancakes and fries. Like, yeah, good. Going
Right.
to the table, son gets sitting at the table with him. I was like, because he's sitting there smoking.
Right.
My grandmother didn't smoke, so I'm like thinking to myself, you smoke and grandma don't smoke. That bothered my grandma. That's what I'm thinking.
Right.
And this is what he would say to me. He would bang the hot sauce on the table. Come on, bring me my damn food. And I'm sitting,
Wow.
yeah, I was sitting right there. And I'm like, ooh, called her names, all kind of names. My grandmother never said a word. She would just serve him and he eat and go back to smoking. And I didn't want to move. And so the thing, I had a problem with men when I was young, when men would start screaming, I would pee on myself. I was already peeing in the bed. When
Right.
my father screamed, I'm peeing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel sorry for me, but you can't hear pee, you can't see pee. But when I pee and I get up and they look, boy, you done pissed on yourself again. Now they mad at me.
Right.
But they brought it on with the fear and the yelling. So my grandmother and she was dominated by my grandfather and her son, my uncle. Used to call her names and laugh and stuff, and I just didn't get it. I didn't understand that.
Wow. So then we go to 17, and we talk about your mother a little bit, and you talk Gypsy Strong was what you had named chapter 3,
Mm-hmm.
and the dedication is so beautiful. It says, "When she transformed into a butterfly, the caterpillars spoke not of her beauty, but of her weirdness. They wanted her to change back into what she had always been, but she had wings. Mommy, I love and miss you very much. Thank you for continuing to fly. Regardless of the cards you were dealt, you always played your hand well. Your son, Leon Robert Walker Jr." Now, on the next page, we talk about her sharing with you the incident of her being raped.
Yeah, she had went to a baseball game downtown Cleveland. My mother was a very strong woman,
Mhm.
and I have that trait, and my daughter has that trait.
Mhm.
My daughter's mother don't understand it. She always say, "You act just like your damn grandmother," which is my mother. She's
Right.
in a vindictive way, and it makes my daughter mad. But my daughter has a very strong will. Like she has the innate ability to separate reality, or like things didn't happen, or it's not gonna bother me, whatever. My daughter's just like that, so I know how to relate to that. But my mother told me the story that the Cleveland Indians were playing. I think it might have been the Pittsburgh Pirates, and it was a famous guy. And when I think about it, the name comes back, but I didn't want to mention. But anyway, she went to the baseball game, and he started flirting with her after the game, and he said, "Hey, you want to go to dinner?" And they were walking. She told me they were walking downtown, and he took her to a park down there, and he raped her. Mm-hmm. Slapped her, pushed her down, and raped her. My mother had been slapped by her own mother. My mother had been beat by her. My father used to fight. My mother had been beat up by my uncle, had her teeth knocked out. So my mother was, I don't know if she was just strong because of her environment, her mindset, but she was always a strong woman. And she, I'm like, well, why didn't you tell on him, mommy? Why didn't you tell on the guy? And she said, what was I going to do? Even to this day, athletes that supposedly rape somebody, it's getting better now, but what are they going to do to the athlete? Nothing. He's the one making the money, bringing the fans to the stadium. What are they going to say? They're going to do something. They're going to believe this lady that, that's from the inner city with a kid or no kids, not working or out of school. They think that he's going to have sex with her. He's going to rape her. No, if anything, she would, she can
money.
Sex. So yeah, she was raped by a Major League Baseball player. Yeah.
So, that one, it puzzled me because I want to know tell the audience how old you are when your mother was talking to you about this.
I was like 9 years old when she told me this. My mother and I were very close. And when she started doing crack in like 1985, the drug took her mind this way, although she was still sharp. But I was like 9 years old, and my mother used to. My mother and I never argued, never fought, never called her name, never talked back. My mother used to always like, come here and pop me in my mouth, So I was like, but my mother was my first den mother. I was in the Boy Scouts. She put me in the Boy Scouts. My mother put me into track, into baseball. She had me take me to football practice. My mother gave me my first job. I worked at the bar with my mother. So my mother, we had a very good relationship. My sister she always said to this day, you were mommy's favorite. I never thought about that, but I was. So yeah, my mother's very, very strong woman. And she started telling me about the rape. I was like 9 years old, and I just didn't process it then. I'm like, somebody raped my mother. So I started then building like a closeness, a love, or the ability to want to protect women. My sister was a little different because I started bullying her because I was bullied. Of course, I bullied my mother, but I always, even now, I have that sense to want to protect women and not let them get hurt.
So what I want to share with the audience as well is, at the time his mother is telling him this, and we'll go into more, he had already been touched. He had already been messed with. He had already been molested. So here he is already dealing with his own trapped feelings. And then his mother, his rock, the one that he, looks for, the constant in his life, is now telling him that, hey, this happened to me. And so I want to know, like, what was going through your mind? Did you relate the two things, your abuse and what happened to your mom? Do you recall like trying to relate those?
No, well, it was like I was in listening mode, but at the same time I was fearful because I almost told her, and I remember this because I was battling with my anger issues. I almost told her that, well, Uncle so-and-so, mommy used to touch me. And I said, no, because of fear of retaliation, a fear of him to me, and a fear of just like him beat me up again. He used to always grab me and like, when my parents would leave, I'm like, why am I always here by myself alone? I was a wild little boy, so I could do things in the house by myself. I could feed the dogs, cut the grass at 8, 9 years old. But he used to come over and like grab me and make me lay on top of him on his back, right? And I used to be like, want to just pound him up. These big teeth just bite him. I was small, but it was, like I say, it was never any penetration. My clothes never came out, but he just always just grabbed me like, lay on me, and I'm like, no, fight. So my anger issues because I wanted to defend myself, but I didn't want to tell on him because that's my mother's brother. And my father my father could fight. My father was a boxer in the army, so I didn't want to tell my dad. He beat up my uncle, or my uncle shoot my dad. I was thinking all these things.
Absolutely.
We had weapons in the house, so I'm like processing. I can't tell about the babysitter. Can't tell about I'm watching porn. I couldn't tell her nothing.
Right.
So I was stuck.
So, and we'll get there. We're going to get into examples about some of that. But before we go on about your mother's situation, I do want to add that on page 20, you mentioned that it happens all the time, though. And most women that it happens to are told that they put themselves in that predicament.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you this myself, and I'm sure that there's many women out there, males out there, let's just say people out there who maybe have tried to report something, and because they either knew somebody, they said that, oh, well, you knew that person, so it must have been, you must have somehow solicited it, or you must have said okay to it, or you must have did something. So I want to tell anybody listening today who feels unjustified because they had tried to tell somebody and it didn't work out, that I support you, I stand with you, just know that it might happen. And so that's the truth. And I'm glad you put that in there, because there's some women or men who are still sitting with that going, I didn't think they'd believe me. And maybe they didn't believe you. Maybe some of you have reported it and nobody believed you. So I'm glad you put that in there, because it makes sense to a lot of people.
Athlete or a well-known person, and this is why I'm very passionate about women now. I've always been passionate about women. I've always loved and lusted after women, and I've for my entire adult life, I was always verbally abusive or cheater. But it's like now, I've always felt kept women close to me, because I've seen my mother get punched. I've seen my grandmother get disrespected. So that's those things put me, and I'm like, how am I out here cheating and breaking hearts? I'm no different, than my uncle or my grandfather. So I was struggling with that. Or at least I'm not hitting them. I'm breaking their heart. It's not that bad.
Right.
That's not that bad. I'm lying. But I was my uncle and my grandfather.
So now we're going to jump over to chapter 7, which is the violation. And I am guessing, because I didn't see anything before this, that this was your first physical violation, your first sexual violation, the molestation part. So there is something you say in here which I can relate to. And I know that there's somebody else out there who may have been violated can relate to too. You say, these are my cousins, I thought. They're much older than I am. I'm safe. I want to bring some attention to that, because this is where a lot of incidents happen. There's an older family member or older person that you think like, hey, they're cool. I'm related to them. How could they do something that's wrong to me? But I got to kind of listen to them because they're older, right? I got to go along with what they're saying.
Right.
So they held you down. So not only did you deal with being touched in those ways and doing those things, you were held down. Like, what was that like? I mean, I guess however you feel like you can explain it. Like, what did that feel like? As I'm sure you're confused, but can you put us inside your head at that moment? I know it's different. You're who you are now, but can you take us back?
Right. So I was in the first grade, right? People have a hard time believing this. I was in the first grade. Kids get molested, touched, and they know now because it happens to 2-3. But I was in the first grade, right? I lost a tooth. I wake up that morning. I knew the night before I went to bed. Tooth fairy. Yeah, I'm gonna get some money under my pillow. Go to the candy store after school. Yeah. I go to bed, wake up, look under my pillow. I had coins, quarters, right? My tooth came out and it was sore. So I go in my sister's bedroom, right? And I'm telling my cousin, hey, my tooth came out. I show it to him. My tooth came out. And I was getting dressed for school. I put my little pants on, my little quarters in my pocket. And I'm like, we had our favorite store called Gus. It was a candy store, nickel bubble gum and stuff. Yeah. So I'm like, look, my tooth. They're like, oh, yeah. So I put it, my mother had put it in a little plastic bag. Every time my teeth came out, she put it in a plastic bag. Got the money on the pillow. I showed them. And they're like, all right, yeah. Boom. Put me on the bed. So they kissed me all on my neck, my mouth. Mouth was bleeding. They had put the tongue all in my mouth. I couldn't talk about that in the book because the publishing company told me that might arouse pedophiles if they read the book. Yeah.
Oh, good point. Okay.
So I had to clean it up. Come here, boy. And I'm short. I'm strong, right? And thick. Kick. Get up. Kiss me. So I didn't even know how bad off I was until I got out the bed, went to school. I was late. Miss Tiller was my first grade teacher. Miss Tiller, Leon, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I got beat up. I got jumped. She's like, come here. She hugged me.
Mm-hmm.
She knew how to get jump. And I remember my mouth being on her skirt, and it was blood. I had sucker bites all over my face, all over my neck. So I was lighter then. So imagine having dark burgundy spots
Yeah.
all over your face. But nothing ever happened to my cousins. And I started liking my cousins. I
Mm-hmm.
became attracted to them
Mm-hmm.
because that was like the only love and care that I felt I had. My parents were fighting all the time.
Right.
You know, violence was in my house. Later on, we talk about that, but I tried to burn the house. I was very dysfunctional. So the molestation became a means of attention for me.
Okay.
And so I started wanting that more. And then um, they kept doing it. So I didn't talk about the other cousin in the book, but there's another cousin that was kissing me too. I'm like, they always hug. Come here, Leon. Hug. My nickname is Double O. Come here, Double O. My mother gave me that. Hug, hug, hug. And then all of a sudden they start kissing me, and I'm kissing them back. It was
Yeah.
that was my norm.
So let me, without going too much into detail about your cousin's life, was there a history of sexual abuse in your cousin's life as well?
So
Or did you know, or do you know?
no, but they later on, one of them became an alcoholic, and one was murdered by her boyfriend. She was a fascie. She had a bunch of boyfriends. She was very sexual. I do remember that.
Okay.
They had kids, but she was a little hot mama, and so her little hot mama butt got a hold of me when I was in the first grade. But I don't know later on if she had a sexual type of fantasy for little boys or not. It never came out. But she wound up getting murdered by her boyfriend. He stabbed her to death and kept the knife. He left the knife inside of her when they found her.
And she was in her 30s, right? Didn't you say she was in her 30s or something crazy like
Yeah.
that?
Died, yeah.
Okay. So on page 46, I was at her mercy, chapter 8. My next encounter with a woman was by far my most devastating and life altering. It happened in 1975 when I was 9 years old and in the fourth grade. Sexual abuse at the hands of my 15-year-old babysitter, who was just as damaged as I was.
Yeah. So my sister, they lived 3 houses down from us, and her and my sister were very close. And so my parents would leave us alone. You know, she'd come over and babysit, and I don't know what triggered in her mind to. Maybe I was like, so I was always thick, Amy. I was always built as a little boy. I had little boy muscles,
Okay.
shoulders, little thick thighs, little thick booty.
Mm-hmm.
It's like maybe I appealed to them. Maybe I appealed to my uncle. I'm like, I didn't get it. But we started playing house. I was a father at 8, 9 years old. You know, you play house. I was a dad.
Right. You guys were in the basement role playing. Yeah.
We had a couch, we had a car, kitchen, garage, everything. Then we had kids. You know, wasn't nobody there. And so the first time I remember her unzipping my pants and picking me up and making me have sex with her. And it kept happening. It kept happening. Again, that became my norm. Just like my cousins kissing me, that was normal to me. Incest was normal to me. Right? So I became a dad, you know, and sexually active, lost my virginity, 8 years old. It was no returning for me after that because I never slowed down on my sexual gratification from women, from porn until my 40s.
Right.
And then I joined the Navy, and it's porn, women, sex, all over the world. Yeah, this is the biggest party. I'm not so bad off after all. This is where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
Now, I was messed up because I wasn't any good in relationships. Right? That was my thing. I had to make myself think that I was sexually active for a reason. And I joined the Navy to continue to be sexually active. I joined the Navy to be an international lover. I joined the Navy to have all these exotic women. So I'm not abused. I'm not dysfunctional. This is how it's supposed to be. This is how God planned it to be. You join the Navy, boom. All right, you got these girls when you were younger, boom. You have girls all over the world. This is what you're supposed to do, Leon. And so, yeah.
Handed your poison.
Yeah. So that became my norm. She gave me cookies and candy and quarters. After a while, the candy wasn't important. The quarters wasn't important. The sex was important to me. So in my mind, I got the porn in my head. 7 years old, a family member showing me porn. Then I started learning how to run a projector myself. It was 8 millimeter. Ooh, rewind that scene. And now I'm having sex with the older lady.
Right.
Badge of courage for me. What am I supposed to tell people? I got raped. They would laugh at me. No, little boys tell people, man, I'm having sex with my babysitter.
Right.
Little girls. So that was a badge of honor for me. And then it was soothing because, again, my parents were still arguing and fighting. My father's coming home drunk. So that was my way out. So again, my cousin kissed me, normal. Sex with my babysitter, normal. Porn, 7 years old, normal. Wasn't
Right.
nothing in my mind. And so my relationships, it was normal to watch porn while I was married by myself.
Page 51, you say, even though it was wrong, I started loving it. Do you remember when that change happened where you felt like the relation between you and the babysitter was not right and weird or whatever, to where it was like, do you think it was a part of you had numbed to the innocence of yourself? Or do you think it was because you grew quick into a more older puberty, like, okay, I feel my hormones mode? Being attacked or not attacked, like, well, yeah, I guess attacked, being in that position, did it create in you a rushed sense of experience, or did you numb the young Leon and just embrace this new, sex monster at a young boy age? Like, was there a click or something gave up and you?
So what happened was I was struggling because my uncle kept touching me, putting his hands in my pants. Get on top of me. Get on top of me.
Mm-hmm.
Why? What's going on? My cousins kissed me. My uncle touched me. I got to find a way to make this stuff seem okay.
Okay.
Sex with my babysitter.
Mm-hmm.
She became my girlfriend. As you see, I was about to say, she became my girlfriend. Now check this. I had to make it seem like it was okay, because had I not, I would have killed my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was mad about him not only touching my private parts but bullying me too. You see, I'm in there, I'm against this tree. He was throwing these things in my face, and I couldn't move. But anyway, no, that was my way of making it seem like it was okay to do that. Because also there was a hole drill. We drilled the hole in my parents' bedroom, the glory hole.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm like, I got a babysitter, I got a girlfriend. She my babysitter, my girlfriend. And Friday night parties, we looking through that hole. My brother drilled a hole in the bedroom adjacent to the bathroom. And I'm watching women. You know how women do in the parties. They go in there, girl, putting makeup on. Girl, hey, fix my bra. Taking their shirts off, and I'm seeing all of this.
Mm-hmm.
They sit on the toilet. I'm seeing all of these grown women.
Yeah.
And I'm having sex with much older woman.
Mm-hmm.
The girls my age couldn't do anything with me. I didn't want to see a girl, little girl with training bras on. That, like, what's wrong with you?
Right.
So I saw big before I saw little. I saw mature before I saw immature. So no, the fact that it was natural to me to have sex with my girlfriend, my babysitter.
Right.
I probably suppressed it. I didn't think that it was wrong because that was like something that I needed to feel, to see, to understand, to know, to process the pain of everything else. That became my comfort zone, sex with my babysitter.
So you said it really, in page 52 sums it up as to where some people may say, well, how come something wasn't said, or how did it go on for so long? I'm going to read this. It says, she gave me comfort and hope. And as crazy as it sounds, I did feel safe when I was with her. After you've lived in a violent household, you look for other things to not only make you feel good, but to take your mind off the brutalities of your daily existence.
Yeah. So I'm dealing with my parents fighting. I'm dealing with my uncle bullying me. I'm dealing with him touching my private parts. I'm dealing with, being able to watch porn, not watch porn, getting angry. I'm dealing with my father coming home drunk. I'm like, so when it wasn't sex, it was thoughts of suicide, right? I had 2 suicide ideations. One was when my mother tried to kill my father, right? The gun, for whatever reason, they didn't take it from her. It was back in the house. So I used to get that gun and wait on my uncle to come over. I would wait on the back porch. because he would come over and bring ribs and stuff to my mother. They were tight. And I
Right.
had a gun, take it out the box, put the bullets in, spin it, click. I was ready.
Right.
Watching war movies and stuff, so I kind of knew how to shoot. If I shot, the gun would have knocked me down, but I never got a chance to shoot him
Hmm.
because he stopped for whatever reason.
Right. Right. That's a lot. That's a lot. I do want to say this is an adorable picture. Is this you?
That's me. That was, right.
I was like, oh, look at little Leon. Okay, so I do want to talk about the chapter, that chapter, Lost, Confused, and Damaged. You talk about you helping Sheba, the dog, deliver the puppies, right? And I feel in my walk with not just my own experience and healing from my own abuse and speaking with others as well, the one thing that those of us who have had broken, as we will, childhoods is we tend to have a sense of belonging with animals. We tend to have a sense of oneness with their soul. It's like there's a love that an animal can give, and there's this wholesomeness about that. And you had said in here, how you kind of read Sheba as she was having a hard time delivering the puppies, and there was something in you. And I will say, Leon, I don't care if there's people out there saying that, oh my God, he's a womanizer was or whatever. I'm still a big fan of little Leon, because as many times as you did these things, you were there in this book with moments with your mother, where you held her and you comforted her. Even your father, you met him, no matter how crazy he may have, sounded in this book, you met him in the driveway, and now you're helping deliver puppies. Yeah. Leon, your heart has always been wonderful. It just goes to prove that many times we're crafted by our experiences and not necessarily who we are. We're all wonderful. It's just these things get in the way. So are you still close to dogs? Do you still like animals?
Yeah, I don't want to wake her up, but my dog is right here. I got it. I bought my dog in 2010 for my sons, and they went on and left and, college and working. So I got it right now, but I love dogs. I would get up in the morning with Sheba, and I learned about how long dogs stay pregnant and everything. And I would get up 3, 4 in the morning and hear her out there howling. And go out there, and she would be panting on her side, and I just go out. Yeah, the little puppy come out, and I pop him out. The biggest litter she had was 13 puppies. So I would pop them out, boom, put them on the nipple, boom, 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 boom. And they were all go. They eating, I'm good. Go back in the house, lay back in the bed, and go to school. And the kids used to be like, "You smell like dog." My teacher smell like dog. I didn't even care that I smelled like a dog, because that was like comforting to me to help my dog deliver her puppies because of all the stuff that was going on. So I help her deliver puppies. Maybe one day I could have been a doctor, OBGYN, but yeah, I used to go out there and I see him in a little ball and they pop open, clean them up. Boom. And she let me. Most times dogs don't let nobody touch their litter when they have them. So yeah, I had them all lined up. A couple of them died every now and then. They suffocated. She would lay on them, but yeah, I did that.
So there's one night you mentioned in page 68 where I talk about you being there for your father. And you said, I walked with my father to the backyard. He stumbled a little, sat down, and rubbed our dogs, Duke and Sheba, as he talked to them. His strokes on the dog's fur appeared to feel soothing to them. I sat there with him for a few minutes, anxiously waiting for him to fall asleep on the old rusty barbecue pit that rested against the garage so I can go back inside and have fun. What were you protecting there?
My mother. Because my dad it was just chilling. I love my father, but it's like he worked at Ford. All right. Mm-hmm. Worked there for 34 years. Worked in a foundry. That was hard work. And my dad drove under influence forever. And from 90 to 94, and I was a recruiter in Cleveland, I was driving under the influence. So I had that trait. I used to drink a lot. But anyway, It was like I wanted to make sure I wanted to walk with my dad because I know he'd get with them dogs. And thinking back on it now, him and my mother was going through some things, but he would go back there and he would sleep outside. And I was like, cool, he good. Let me go back in the house. Then I would look out every now and then. I wanted him just stay out there until he sobered up, because when he was drunk, he was a mother, And I was like, I love this man. And it's like I'm so fearful, But I have a lot of my dad's ways. When he spanked us, I started spanking my kids the same way, strip them down, get real brutal with it.
Right.
But sit down by the barbecue pit,
Mhm.
out, and I go back in the house with my mom. You know, I just want to make sure they were separated.
Yeah, at a very young age, that's a lot to carry. That's a lot to be so fearful of, that you're in the middle of a party, as you were that night, and you immediately went out and tried to ensure that, you know, nothing would happen. And so that's a big position for a little boy. Now let's here we go. We're gonna go a little deeper. You ready? Sure you are. It already happened, right? So page 80, we start talking about Sheila. And in 77, you were having threesomes. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. How in the world does such a young kid, and you can tell us how old or what grade you were in at that point, how does that happen?
So we used to have, my mother was, like I said, she was my first den mother, my Boy Scout pack. So we used to have Halloween parties. Our house was known to have Halloween parties. Birthday, we did it all. And I think there might have been 70 somewhere in there, but 77 was the older lady. But yeah, so we were having a birthday party, and this one girl came over. It was full of girls. Okay. And she was like tough. And she's always like man to handle me. She was bigger than me. I'm like, but then I noticed that she started, like, instead of wrestling me, she started hugging me.
Right.
What? Damn. So I told my friend, I'm like, yo, man, like when she wrestling me, man, she's like, she be grinding. Like, she grind on me too. Like, what?
Yeah.
So, you know, I had already been having sex, so it was like, I knew what was up. And 11 years old. But we go to bed, everybody leave, and she stays and spend the night. I don't even remember where my parents were. I know they were probably downstairs drinking, smoking. And we were in my mother's bedroom, me, her, and my buddy. He's still alive. I was just with him last week. And she got in there and got naked. We got naked. And it was like a natural thing. I didn't even think about she's too young or I'm too young. Well, no, we weren't too young. In my mind, I was already having sex at 8.
Right.
So I'm 11. I'm good. I'm a vet.
Right.
So it was never crossed my mind. So that's why later on in life, cheating and excessive sex was never like the wrong thing to me, because I never fixed those issues as a child. No excuse. It was wrong. I knew better when I was older, but that's what fed my demons. That's what fed my. So I'm not gonna do something that don't fill my flesh. It's like, that's like me being with a woman that's moral, with character, integrity. I don't like those type of. I didn't like those type of women. I do now. So I'm like, I need some drama. I need some evil. I need some devil. What you got for me, devil? What you got for me, Diablo? What you got?
Right.
And my buddy having sex in the 6th grade with a girl in 5th grade.
Right.
Was already sexually active. And I come to find out later on that she had been having sex with guys, older guys in the neighborhood. Her father was never around. She lived with her mother. So she was very sexually active. And so we were too. But it was like natural for us to do that.
Now, in 2007, you actually contact her, right? And so it says on page 80, she goes, you know, you weren't the only one with issues, she said. My daddy was never around. I think I was looking for a connection, any kind of connection with a boy. It was wrong, and I know that now, but at the time, I just wanted to be close to someone. And at the end, it was said we used each other, she said, as if attempting to claim some responsibility. I was to comfort you and you were to comfort me. That made me feel a little bit better. We talked for several more minutes, updating on each other on our lives. I was asked, and after we hung up, I heaved a long sigh. I was glad I risked calling her. And
yeah.
Wow.
That was a website that was up in my old neighborhood. And I was just on the computer looking it up, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. It's bringing, you know, people in my area together. And I'm like, let me talk to her and find out what's going on. I saw her name, and then boom, we talked about it. But she remembered, yeah, we did talk about that situation there. And I was like, man. But I'm like, I could go back. I was a little boy, she was a little girl, so it wasn't like I was an older guy molesting. No, heck no.
Well, what I got from it, the thing that came to my mind when I read that whole page was hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
And even if the healing that feels good is actually the hurting that's being done, that's just the truth.
And that's how I live my life and my relationships. I was still hurting women because I was hurting. I couldn't heal anybody because I wasn't healed, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Or know what healed was or how to get there. So I get it, and here we go yet a little bit deeper. I hadn't been talking about this as you've been mentioning it because I was waiting to get here. Chapter 15, his hands on my balls. This is your mother's brother. And you mentioned, never in my life did I imagine that a family member would do such a thing to me. But I quickly found out that the word family didn't mean anything to him.
Nope. I was never close to him. He and my brother were close. Of course, my mother was very close. But yeah, it was like, I don't know why he was touching me.
And
I found out a lot later on that, so he got murdered
you're right.
by the guy that he was living with, supposedly his lover.
Mm-hmm.
That was a rumor, and he was beating him up. But he used to bring women over to our house in the basement, 3, 4 women. They would be down there for hours getting high. I hear women screaming. I leave the house and come back, they're still down there screaming. I come up, they walking out, women bloody and scratched up. I didn't know. I had no idea what was going on. I was just like, all right, just walk away, get away from it, because I don't want to be next. It was like, and I never told my parents. Nobody. I never said anything about this until 2018 when I published the book. But for years, so this is the thing. I processed the women I saw in porn, my babysitter, my cousin, the lust for women, the love for women. I want to hurt women. I'm gonna hurt you. I'm gonna break your heart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
With men, it was pedophiles that were really set me off, to trigger me.
Mm-hmm.
If I knew, I said one day, I just want to get revenge. I want to be the pedophile. Thank God I'm in the Navy. If I wasn't in the Navy, and I know what pedophiles are, and you hear about them, but that would have been like a death sentence for him and me. I'm going to jail for life. I'm going to kill. I had that anger, and just like the movie Monster, Eileen Wuornos, which was raped at 14, right, by a family, and she wound up becoming a prostitute and gay, but she wound up being a serial killer, killing men that bought her body because she was raped by a guy when she was 14. So I could have did the same thing, sleep with female prostitutes, but murdering men just because I don't like pedophiles. And now today I don't like men that hit women because my uncle hit my mother. That baseball player raped my mother. So I turn to a different person when I see that.
Right. It's interesting you say that, because in the book that I'm hoping to complete by November, I mentioned know why you feel the way you feel. Right. And I talk about how, because of my experience, anytime I seen a little girl on a man's lap, something inside me would electrify. I'd start to feel heat and I'd want to choke the man out. And here's the truth. We don't know that man is doing what was done to me, but I had to calm that down. Even after my own, I had to get healing for that too, because I couldn't look at every man as somebody who was doing something wrong to a little girl.
Right.
So yeah, I get that. I understand that. The one thing that I don't know, I had pain for a lot of it in this book, but he literally would get you'd be bleeding because he would just keep popping you because you wouldn't comply. You wouldn't do what he wanted to with certain things in this book. And I just kept seeing you standing there strong and just like, no, I'm not going to do that, and you had already endured so much, BS. Like, when did he start messing? What age were you when he started messing with you?
Like 11.
See, you dealt with what happened at 6, what happened at 9. So by the time Mr. Marco comes along, you're just like, all right, you know what? You're gonna have to kill me first, damn near. And that's pretty much like what he figured. He wasn't gonna go no further. And like you said, he stopped. So I'm not saying I'm glad to hear that he got his head blown off, but I'm here to say that I'm glad you didn't have any chance in life to ever go try to, readdress it or anything like that.
It came back to me. So the day he got murdered, we were at my grandmother's house, and there was like, my mother said, something happened to my brother, so we go to my grandmother's house and the radio's on.
Right.
So was murdered due to a shotgun blast in the mouth, and I'm sitting there thinking like, too bad. So my mom said, they going later. Hey, 00, we back with my grandmother's house. You guys stay here. You're not going to the funeral. In my mind, I was like, I wasn't going. No way. But they didn't even know. I was sitting there with his son, who was about 2 at the time, I think. But yeah.
What was rough is your mother was in pain because she was so close to him. So it was hard for you to see your mother shed tears for somebody who was assaulting you that she really didn't even know.
And she didn't know. And so, yeah, and that's when my sister tells me my mother might have been schizophrenic or something. She was never clinically diagnosed, but that was in 1979. My mother started losing her mind because she lost her brother. She lost her husband. They got divorced. She lost her 3 kids right through the divorce, or 2 kids, me and my sister, because my brother stayed with her. Her father died in '82, and then she lost her mother um, years later. But she lost like 6 people in 3 years, so she lost an average of one person every 6 months.
Yeah.
Led up to when she started getting high crack. What else was she do to mask her pain? I never understood that while I was in the Navy, why my mother started getting high, but I started thinking about it. She lost her brother, her husband, her 2 kids, and her father. You
Mhm.
know, so and her it was I think it's her my other brother. So 6 people, but I never understood why she was getting high until I started getting help and therapy, and she started breaking it down and said, "When did your mother? What happened to your mother?" You know, I'm like, "Well, she was raped. She got beat up. Oh, her brother died. Her father died. She lost my dad, her husband. She lost me and my sisters
Right.
in 3 years." So yeah.
Right. So we talk about that, and it's like, wow, we don't realize what somebody's been through. Now, your mama also, you talked about briefly, she tried to shoot your daddy, right? And then you went and had to live with the family for, there was a lot of stuff that happened. So tell us about the time where you guys were all separated and you actually got to live with a lady and her son, and how life started to look up a little bit for a little while.
So graduated from 6th grade. I was coming home, having a little suit on. Yeah, I got my certificate. After Jeff, mom dropped me off. We had a burger. I'm good. I'm happy. I get in front of the house, and our furniture is on the lawn. I'm like, I didn't know how to process that. Then I look on the door. This is a red sign that said
Mm-hmm.
eviction.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother's coming out the house with my brother, and they got buggy with a bunch of clothes in. He's like, "Don't go back in the house." I'm like, "Why? We got evicted." I didn't know what evicted meant. What do you mean? What, mom? What? We can't go back in there. We don't live there anymore. That morning, I got up with the school thinking I'm gonna come back to a house to,
Right.
to some dinner to watch TV.
Okay.
I can't even say watch TV because for months we didn't have water, electricity, heat. We were
Right.
extension cord from our house to our neighbor's house for electricity. And me and my
Mm-hmm.
sister was going across the street to fill up jugs for water. We had nothing. My dad was gone. They were getting divorced. We had nothing. So
Right.
I'm like, okay. They bring the clothes out and they left the furniture on the line. We walking up the street, talking. I see my friends like, yo, man, all right, see y'all. These are my close friends, my boys we play football with. We roller skate with, ice skate with. I think I ever see them again. We didn't move that far away, but we're not on that street anymore. Hey, man, where you going? Man? I don't know. I'm with my mother, my brother, my sister. Y'all got evicted? Hot. Some people laugh. We get to the street called Taylor, Quentin Taylor. I go this go one street goes this way, one go that way. My mother said, "Okay, double O, you're gonna live with Irene." So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, "Who is Irene?" You
Mm-hmm.
know, the lady that works with me at the bar. My mother's a bartender.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you just go up there and go to the house. Go to the house. She's waiting for you. All right. My mother, my sister, my brother. I'm like, all right, bye. They going straight up the street, and I stand on that corner. To this day, I go home. Every time I go to Cleveland, I look at that street sign and I see that junction. I'm like, oh. They go, I go, I'm walking. I knock on the door. Irene let me in. I never forget Shelling. And this is again from the glory hole and the porn I was watching. I was attracted to older women. She had on lipstick, little short, little afro earrings. She had a black sweater like this and some jeans, and she looked good. And I was 11 years old. Come on in, boy. I've been waiting on you. Where you been? I hadn't had a bed in 5 years. We hadn't had barely had food. So it
Mm-hmm.
was like, man, nice apartment. I could smell like food cooking in the kitchen. What you want to eat? I just want a ham and cheese sandwich with some chips and a great pop. I just wanted something. I'm still like that to this day. Just something simple. Those are triggers for me. Those are anchors for me. But it's not. They're not bad triggers. Make me think about us losing our house. But Irene was very comforting to me. She was very nice. There was no more of my parents fighting. They were going through divorce. My dad was living across town. There was no more of my uncle. There was no more porn. It was peaceful. It was pleasant. And I met her son Ricky, and we played. I ate my sandwich, my chips. I watched TV. She's like, Double, go take a shower, and I got some pajamas for you. I hadn't had pajamas in 4 or 5 years. I'm like, man, this is cool. But I was on my own. My mother and my brother moved to a hotel. My sister moved to Irene's daughter's house, and I didn't see him all that year. You know,
Wow.
my dad used to come over and pick us up, and then we go get my sister. I'm like, hey, what's up? You know,
Mhm.
and we spent a weekend with my dad and come back that Sunday. I'm like, family gone again.
Yeah.
Off, drop me off. Then I'm like, I'm pissed. No family, I'm pissed.
Mhm.
Started stealing. I was
Yeah.
angry. You know, I was hurt. My life, my mother just gave me away.
Right.
We
Right.
got back together after a year of living with Irene. It was a 1-bedroom apartment for 4 people. Irene's house got a bed, ham and cheese, back to sub-zero. A house with my mother, my brother, my sister. It was cool to be back, but it wasn't cool to not have food again. And we had utilities, decent food. I
And
was
then
sleeping on
is
the
that
floor.
when you snatched that boy's sandwich or that boy's lunch when you went back and you were hungry and you said, I'm about to take this boy's lunch? I think you seen he had a Rice Krispie treat and something
I
else
was
and you snatched it.
bored, but that was in elementary school. Charles Dullingham. I
Hmm.
get him. He's always had these brown paper bags, real neat. I ain't had it. I ain't had no Rice Krispie treat. I had
Right.
he had it. And he's sitting next to me, break it out, and he'd be real perfect squares. I'm like, man, can I get one? He's like, no. He's a little nerd. And I was like, give me that. You
Hmm.
know? Yeah. But anyway, my mother, we moved because she got an apartment, moved back with her, but I was sleeping on the floor again, you know? I'm like, So then we went to court. They found my mother to be unfit. 4 people in the house, 1 bedroom, kids sleep on the floor.
Yeah.
My father got custody, and we moved to the ghetto. Back to a 1 bedroom, but my father had it set up like it was 2. It wasn't. It was a 1 bedroom for 3 people. I slept on the couch, 9th grade, 10th grade. We got another apartment, 2 bedroom. I finally got a bed in the 10th grade.
Okay. Now you talk a lot in the book, and I want to bring this up because this is a big sign for a child who is being sexually abused is bedwetting. Now, I don't know if yours started before the first situation when you were 6, but for me, mine started after. So, and it went on for me until I know at least out of elementary school, maybe even into the beginning of junior high school. So, you had some issues. You want to talk about that?
So, yeah, I didn't know what was wrong with me. I started peeing in the bed 1st grade when I got molested.
Yeah.
I didn't find out until I was 50 why. Peeing in the bed, pee, top bunk. My brother like, pee in the bed. It was dripping down on him.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I didn't know, but they didn't know that had been molested. They
Right.
didn't know I was having sex with babies, so they had no idea.
Right.
Abused children, a sign or symptom of a child being abused is bedwetting. I
Yep.
found out when I'm 50 in 2015.
Yeah.
So my parents got tired of me peeing in the bed, put me on the floor, low
Mm-hmm.
piece of carpet. It's in the book, picture the
Yep.
carpet.
Yep.
I peed on that. Just because they moved me from the bed to the floor, I mean, I'm stop peeing. I peed on that so much that my father had to saw the carpet. Carpet has that foam up under it.
Yeah.
I peed so much on that, it sank through to the floor, stayed there so long. Because you pee in the bed, boy? No, Daddy, I didn't pee in the bed. I lied.
Right.
I would some kind of way lie and get away with it. I peed in the bed so bad, and the carpet so bad that it stuck to the floor. He had to saw it off, and then put me another piece of carpet down there. So I didn't realize I was abused until I was 50 when I went through therapy for 6 months, and she got into that, asked me questions, and I told her, I said, why did I pee in the bed from 1st grade to 6th grade? She said, well, let's research. Started asking questions. Well, you were abused.
Yeah.
That's a sign of abused children. Some of them, bedwetting.
Yep. That's a big one. So I could go on about the book, but I want to ask you some questions just to clear the air for the audience because I don't want to leave them hanging on a deep end about all the suffering and stuff.
Right.
In the book, you mentioned not liking to cuddle because of all this. Is this still true, or have you learned how to cuddle, Leon?
Okay, so I understand cuddling is a nonverbal communication. I got that, right? I'm a worldly dude. I learned how to talk. I had gift of the gab from the Navy. being around older men, being around older women, being overseas, doing what I want to do. Women bow down to me, getting what I want to get, when I want to get it. So I was afraid of holding hands because it felt like I was trapped. Let me, I didn't want to hug, felt too close. I had mommy issues. I had abandonment issues.
Right.
I'm dealing with emotional dysregulation.
Right.
Cuddling, Leon, you want to cuddle with me? And I tell you this, even up until 2006, I was dating this lady, and she's always be, hey, can we cuddle? I'm like, what the hell you want to cuddle for? I didn't understand women like that. It's a way of it's you feel close to your partner, your boyfriend, your husband, wife, whatever. It's nonverbal communication without being sexually active. Touch, respect, hold me. I'm like, I'm not okay. I hold you. I didn't even know how to cuddle. I felt uncomfortable cuddling because I'm like, look, if I'm gonna be that close to you, you gonna give me something. That's how I was, right? So, what you want to cuddle for? I just don't. I'm not in the mood. You know, I'm on my period. I'm getting close to it. Can you cuddle me? Let's spoon, rub my stomach. I'm like, I want to watch ESPN. I want to drink a beer. I want to smoke a cigarette. I want to hug. I don't want to cuddle with you. Cuddle does nothing for me. That's the narcissistic side coming out. It's all about me. I cuddle. How long is it gonna be? I asked one girl, how long we got to cuddle?
Wow. How well did that go? How well did that question go?
Never mind. I don't. You know, I'm like,
Right.
I want to cuddle no way. So I go on the couch, give me a beer, watch ESPN over and over and over and over and over. She fall asleep. So I was depriving women. I was winning the war on attrition. I get what I want. They don't get what they want. I'm not cuddling. Don't hug me. I didn't like to hug because I felt trapped. I didn't want. And then, from a professional standpoint, I didn't like hugging women because it was like I felt like, damn, I'm hugging her breasts on my chest. Does she like me? You know, how does this look? So I was going through it, but the women in the Navy on the base, they like to hug. They like to bake cookies. They like to hug. It was just a good thing. Hugging is good. I like it now. A couple of years ago, I was like, man, I need a hug. Right when COVID first hit, everybody lonely away from people. I just want to shake my boy's hand. I just want to hug a lady. I hug my son. I want to hug. So it's a mind thing for me. I didn't know anything about hugging. I didn't want to hug. I felt trapped. I felt suffocated.
And so now, are you still that way?
No. I'm a hugger now because I know what it does for me and what it does for my girl. I know what it does for me, what it does for my daughter, my son. My sons don't like to hug. My youngest son, he'll hug. My oldest son, he like turned to the side, like he's disconnected too, like I was, you know. But he's about to be 25 here, shortly. So no, I like hug. I understand now. Even if I didn't like the hug, I know that what she needs, what a woman needs as far as hugging, it's that nonverbal communication, it's that closeness, it's intimacy without, you know, having sexual intercourse. But I like hugs. It's the warmth, it's the connection, it's like the understanding, the touch, physical touch. You know, I started to come into my love language aside from acts of service, communication, physical touch. I like to touch because I want to make her feel important, wanted, needed, desired. I understand it now.
Now, let me also ask you, you talk about in the book you had eventually lost your own family due to infidelity. Are you that same guy? What was that like, and how have you changed?
It was devastating. I've changed. I didn't have respect for myself. So cheating, back in my childhood, cheating, having all these women was the norm for me. I was sexually driven. I wasn't driven by things of substance. I wasn't driven by morals or integrity. I didn't care about getting caught if I cheated. I did get caught cheating. But I ruined my ex-wife's life by having another daughter, having a child outside of my marriage. You know, bad dude, bad person, dysfunctional, stupid, idiot. People like, I made a mistake. I didn't make a mistake. When you cheat, it's not a mistake. You know what you're doing. You just hope you don't get caught. You're gonna get caught because God sees all. You're gonna get caught. But I'm not like that anymore. Cheating, I don't even have the nerve to cheat. It's like back then I was like uninhibited. I was like, you know, reckless. You know, still had the abandonment issues, but whatever. I had a wife. I'm supposed to honor her, supposed to protect her, supposed to respect her. I didn't do that. I didn't respect myself. You know, so I've always had good women in my life. I was just a bad man in a woman's life. But no, I don't like. I can't. The sex ties. soul ties, sex demons, body stinking, headaches, eyes red all the time, calling
Right.
Lee, Terry, Karen, Jackie, confused. I didn't know. Just
Right.
don't, just don't cheat. Just don't cheat.
And you have been to therapy, just so the audience knows. I mean, you have been to therapy. I'm sure some of these people are going, "Oh my God, did he ever get help? Has he? You did mention it, but in case anybody missed it, you have received some help and some support.
Yeah, I was in therapy for 6 months from 2015 January up until I retired in August, January, February, March, May, June. Yeah, 6, 7 months, 2015. Yeah, I went every day, had to go, had to read, had to study, had to understand myself, found out why I was abused, why I peed in bed, why I always had to chew a straw or toothpick,
Right.
had oral fixation from what my cousins did to me. I didn't know why I was chewing straws. It wasn't even about bubble gum.
Right.
Straws, toothpicks, grind them down.
Right.
Issue because of what my cousins did to me. I found that out at age 50 as well because I told my therapist. She's like, "Were you abused again?" I'm like, yeah. So yeah, went through therapy. Rightfully so, needed it, had to have it. It changed my life. It made me a better person. I understand me now. I understand my mother. I understand people. Period. I had a
Okay.
lot. Yeah, I harbored a lot of hurt, anger, evil. My cousins, my uncle, babysitter, man, rah. I'm good now.
Okay. Then you mentioned. Let's talk about how you feel about church,
Okay.
or your experience with church, should I say, or your
Women
insight.
say, Leon, saved? No, I didn't go through the process. Wasn't baptized. Saved from what? The devil, temptations, women, porn, liquor, cheating. What? Don't do that no more. I'm saved from that. No. I have 4 instances that happened to me with reference to God. My mother sent me to the store to get her some bread and cigarettes, Salem's. 9 years old, my bike. Man, my favorite store, Gus, candy store. I get there. Hey, Gus, my mother wants some Newports and some hot sauce and bread. I mean, Salem cigarette. Hot sauce and bread. All right, boy, go. You know what to get. Go get it. Go get it. I get the stuff. Pay for it. Boom. Get on my bike. Riding home. It's dark. Sun going down. It's dusk. I get to my house. I look up and I see 2 eyes looking at me. That's why can't nobody tell me about Jesus Christ, about God. I had my encounter. You go talk to him at church, talk to the pastor, the preacher, listen to the word, get the Holy Ghost. I had my encounter. That's why women have a problem with me now. You're not saved. You don't know God. I had my encounter. I didn't ask to see God. I saw him. You
Mm-hmm.
can't tell me his face is black, brown, bronze, white. You can't tell me that. I looked up in the sky, jumped off my bike, it's going down the street. I run the house. I dropped the cigarettes. I kept the bread in the hot sauce. Ma, boy, what's wrong with you? Something looking at me. I saw something looking at me. I'm like, what? She's like, what? Eyes. Amy, they were big. And I gave her the bread and I started crying. It's like, that's double O. That's God looking out for you. Good to go. Sealed the deal. That was right before we lost our house. Eyes. No face. Straight up. I know what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
Second time. My uncle's funeral. March 1999. So women, I have a problem when they say you're not saved. You can't tell me I'm not saved because baptism. I've been to Jerusalem. I've been to the Wailing Wall. I've been to the Sea of Galilee. I've been to the banks of Jordan. I've been to the Middle East. You can't tell me. You tell me I'm not saved. Okay, we can't date. I may not be able to quote a scripture in the Bible word for word. Can't do it. May not understand David. May not understand Jesus Christ, Mary, Jezebel. May not understand. Whatever. March 1999 at my uncle's funeral. The preacher was preaching, Amy, and I saw the characters in color. Didn't even know, hadn't read the whole Bible. Flipped through the Bible as a kid, put it down. Cool. Saw the characters in color as he spoke. Closing on. I'm in San Diego in the church, sitting down, chilling, looking for women to flirt, looking for skirts, high heel shoes, lipstick, perfume. Smell good. I like her. I'm in a church. I'm sitting there, the minister teaching. All of a sudden, and I should have stayed. All of a sudden, I felt a joke through my body. I'm sitting there like this. All of a sudden, I'm like, ooh. I know somebody saw it, but it scared me because it felt so good. I never felt that feeling again. I've never felt that feeling before that. I never felt it in my life. I left, got up out of there. God always had me. I knew he had me when I saw his eyes. I knew he had me when I saw the characters at my uncle's funeral. And I knew he had me when he sent that joke through my body. Then, 1987, May 18th, Persian Gulf, we get the call. USSR got hit by 2 missiles. We go 100 miles, northern Persian Gulf. Walker, you're on the fire team. Get dressed. Get your team ready. Put on the gear. Get on the boat. Go to the ship. It's sinking. It's on fire. People dying. Get on the boat. Go over there. We'll fight one fire. Put it out. 37 bodies got murdered. Now, take a room with 55 beds in it, 3 toilets, 2 urinals, 2 showers, 3 sinks, an AC unit, a TV, 12-seat lounge. Missile hit the ship. Boom. Went in. Big ball of fire. Burned everything down in that compartment. 55 beds gone. 37 men dead. I had to pick up 37 bodies. Fingers, feet, faces, nose, heads. Walking around. 12 hours. I looked down. Picked up the Bible. It wasn't even touched. We had been there for 12 hours. Picked up 37 bodies. Feet, fingers, head, noses, foreheads, blood, teeth, 55 beds obliterated, a lounge that seat 12 people, TV gone, AC unit, 2 showers, 3 toilets, 2 units, 3 sinks, gone. The fire was so hot, 1,500, 2,000 degrees, everything disintegrated. I found the Bible right where I found fingers and feet. Gave it to the chaplain. Why did I find the Bible? Can anybody tell me I don't have a relationship with God? Well, Leon, are you saved? Yeah. Explain. I don't have to explain nothing to you. I may not be able to quote the Bible word for word, a scripture word for word. I can live by it, though. I got friends that's in the pulpit right now. Leave church, drink a beer, gamble, go with his side piece. Oh, he say, yeah. Really? I'm not saved, but I'm living a different lifestyle. I can't quote any of that word for word, but I can live by the scriptures. Yeah, that's my experience with church and God.
Right. I think if there's anybody listening tonight, I want you to know that by what Leon said and by what I believe is that you're never too tainted to be loved, looked at, or held by God. You don't have to be perfect in the light of expression. You do. He's there. He loves you. He cares. He's never left your side. And I know that when children go through a hard and broken childhood, many times they scream out, "Why me?" Many times they feel left and they feel tainted forever in their life. Some people never get to the healing. But I will say that God loves you and that he's there, and you don't have to know a scripture to get his love. I will say I encourage everybody to continue their walk with God and get closer to him, but I won't tell you how to do it. That's between you and him. So thank you for sharing that, because you just gave somebody hope and courage. And last but not least, I just want the audience to know, and anybody else who's listening, what was your intention for this book? And how will you keep that merit going? How will you keep on teaching with this book?
So I wanted to put my life out there and tell people that if I can make it, you can make it. I never wanted to write a book. I never even read an entire book until 2018. As a senior leader in the Navy, also leadership books, I led by pure passion, grit, and love for people. I want to show people that even if you don't want to do some try, you might like it. It may change somebody's life. I want to push myself, see if I can write a 300-page book. My boy, who's a minister, interviewed me June 6, 2016. And by the time I got to the third grade, he said 7 words to me. Why don't you just write a book? I don't know how to do that, bro. Just sit down and write. I wrote for 59 days, everything I told you and more. I had 1,000 pages. I finished writing August 11, 2016. What do I do now? Find an editor, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, that book is going to be a legacy for years to come to my family. It may teach my great, 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 great grandchildren to write a book. It's going to save somebody's life. Quick story. I had a young lady I was teaching, came and knocked on my door. I was teaching 11th graders. Hey, Mr. Walker. I'm like, hey, I waved. She waved back. I waved. She waved back. I waved. And she let like this. She said, you just don't get it. I'm like, who are you talking to, girl? Look, you 15 years. Mr. Walker, look. She had 23 cuts on her arm. She's a cutter.
Mm.
And that day I had my book at work. I let her read. Hey, look, I tried to commit suicide too. She said, you did? I'm like, yeah. And you made it? You did 32 years in the Navy? You say the lie? I'm like, yeah. Well, I need to stop cutting myself. I said, you do. To this day, she's still alive. She's a good girl. But I wrote the book to help people, to inspire people, help people turn their life around. Rather you molested, raped, dysfunctional, hooked on, addicted to porn, this family broken, parents fighting, somebody want to murder you, you want to murder somebody, anger issues, you can come out of that. It's not an end all. You stay strong and get strong. It's the beginning. And you tell your life story to help other people stay alive. That's why I wrote it.
Now, maybe a word to those people who have a story they want to tell, but they're scared to death of what their family will say or what their readers will say, or more or less a family member. What do you have to say to them?
Write it, do it anyway, let it go, get it out. Forgive yourself. Give the people that you're mad at. Don't hold that anger. Don't hold that sickness inside. Stop letting them rent space in your head. Nobody's that bad off. You're not that bad off. A lot of times we create negative things in our mind. Some of it's true, some of it's not. But get through it, break through it, and don't let anybody stop you from growing and find out who you are and what your destiny is. Go for it.
Outstanding. Leon, thank you again for being transparent. For those of you who don't know and you missed the last interview, it is available on YouTube still. And that went over Love Ship, his book, Love Ship. And then today we went over Broken, and he has another one coming soon.
Yeah.
Relationship book. Do you want to give us any hints about what that has to do with?
So if you all read the book called The 5 Love Languages, I got it, I read it, and I was like, very popular book. How can I make a book popular? This is why the way I think. Whenever I do something, I give it 100%. I want it to be solid. I want it to be profound. I want it to be effective. What's the opposite of love languages? I don't know. So I came up with a word, loveless traits. So that's the name of my book. We talk about the love languages, acts of service, communication, gifts, physical touch, those type of things, right? But we never talk about the people that don't do those things, that don't have those things, like narcissistic people. Acts of disservice. I'm not gonna give you anything. I'm not gonna serve you. You're gonna serve me. That type of thing. So I'm writing a book called The 7 Loveless Traits. Acts of disservice, untouched, bad communication, that type of thing. So it's 7 of them. Another one is one of the other love language, loveless traits is titles and status. Those type of people that have master's degree, PhD, big house, big car. I want a woman to submit to me. I want you to be docile, subservient. I'm the man in the house. You the woman. You submit. You bow down to me. You don't work. You take care of the kids. You cook my food. You wash my clothes. Titles and status. Those people, some of them are not loving people. They're not caring people. They just want somebody to take care of them. So I'm writing a book called The 7 Loveless Traits. Probably be out by November or December.
There you go. And there you have it. All right. So Leon, any final words before I put you back in the backstage and do my closeout?
Yeah, love life, live life, get up every day and be somebody different, think differently, take notes at nighttime, wake up, don't have the same thoughts you had yesterday, do a good deed every single day, help somebody out, tell somebody something positive, give somebody a hug, tell somebody you love them, tell somebody you care about them, be positive. Thank God that you wake up every day. When you wake up, you're supposed to do something different. You're supposed to do something powerful. You're supposed to do something exciting every single day. Don't be average, don't mediocre. Don't worry about being in the top 10% of nothing. You want to be in the top 1%, the top 1%. You want the best, be the best.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take you backstage. Thank you again for being so transparent. I know that somebody's been touched. All right, so I'm gonna send you back. Thank you, Leon. Okay, you guys. Well, as promised, it wasn't one of those nice and fluffy things tonight. It was more serious and kind of deep. I will say that I guess I don't like to use the word survivor, but somebody who has experienced something of that. It was good. It was good to be able to see where I needed my own healing. I want to be transparent and share something with you. So this is the first time I had ever had a little bit of angst and my palms were sweaty about this whole interview. And one, because as I was reading Leon's book, it took me back. It took me to a place where I had been molested. It's ironic that it was about the same timelines. It was at 6, 9, and then also some things happened as an adult. But I realized what it feels like when parts of you thought you healed aren't really healed. And so if there's anybody listening, and maybe you're feeling a little bit of anxiety tonight because you have been touched, you have been molested or sexually abused, I want you, if you know how to meditate, I encourage you tonight to take some deep breaths and try to meditate. Call a friend who you can talk to, do something, because you will toss and turn if you leave yourself to be stuck in these emotions. The last 2 nights leading from when I read his book to when this interview actually happened tonight, it took me there. And so I will do some healing exercises for myself. And for those of you who know, that's what I do, is I help lead people into a level of healing. And so teachers are usually the people, or leaders, or whatever you want to call them. They have been through what they're telling you how to get through. So I want to send love, hope, and courage to everybody and anybody who listened to this tonight, whether you did it to learn or whether you did it because it's happened to you and you want to know how to handle it. Don't do it alone. Do seek out help. Try to breathe tonight, exercise, walk on a treadmill, do something to get off that extra energy so that you won't toss and turn tonight and that you will sleep well. Remember that God loves you, and that just because something has happened to you, it doesn't mean that it taints you. You're wonderful and you're beautiful and you're worth it. And I don't want you to ever forget that. You are loved. Make sure that you tell yourself at least 2 times a day, I can, I will, and I'm so worth it. Yes, you are. And up next, my next live will be an interview with Mr. Paul Taveras next Saturday. And after that, I will be also having an interview with somebody who talks about loss with children, losing a baby. What is that like? So a lot of interesting shows coming up. You guys take care. Know that you're loved. And I hope somebody gained a little bit of courage tonight. God bless you.